Aw,
funny.
fun. Dennis Michaels, John should be grateful for the dabblers. Isn't how alcoholism spirals out of control when people just enable bad behavior? We hold
Yeah.
John accountable.
I listen, the dabblers are I never want to run afoul of them, but they will say, if you go on that subreddit, and John, if you're listening, they they want John to be better. And they say, listen, don't go and do anything IRL. Don't try to cancel his gigs. That'll happen on their own when he doesn't sell tickets, if he doesn't.
Right.
And we don't have to do any of that. Carl says, I just observe and report. And the dabblers are the same way. And matter of fact, John was complaining that they got one of his gigs canceled,
Right.
and by writing bad Yelp reviews. And one of the dabblers called the restaurant and said, that's not us. It's absolutely not us. And they actually, I think they proved, you'd have to go look at it. I think John actually wrote some of the reviews himself because he was mad that it got canceled. But the
Oh
owner,
man, that's funny.
yeah, the owner of the club said, I know it's not you all. I absolutely know it's not you. So they are performing a service. They're trying to give John tough love, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to characterize anything that
Well,
they're
yeah,
doing.
the
It's just,
whole world is a mirror, right? And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think people are
Well,
just
John,
observing and reflecting back.
how much time do we have? Are we about done? I mean,
All the
are you needing to?
Do you have to go?
No, no,
No,
no, no. I
I'm
do
not
not.
rushing you out.
Okay. I was
Okay.
just going to talk a little bit about what I think John's issue
Yes, yes. This is the juice. This is the tea. Hold on, really quickly. More
is.
adventure.
Okay.
Chrissy, will you marry me? Maybe. Send me some pics.
Oh,
Uh, just kidding.
that's a thing.
Bracket. No, I
Okay.
don't get that many offers. Bracket #_ ask Dr. Steve how to tell a difference if you're a manic depressive or just a drunk. Oh, hey, this is leading perfectly into our
It
next
is,
segment.
isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So bipolar disorder is diagnosed by a licensed professional. And the problem is that bipolar disorder, people can self-medicate, and therefore they'll have alcoholism on top of that. I'm not talking about John now. I'm answering this question. So if this is about you or somebody that you know, get them seen by someone and let them speak honestly about what's going on with them, because you don't have to live that way. There are treatments for bipolar disorder, absolutely treatment for alcoholism, and you can that you can overcome, but it takes some
What's
work, no
the
question about it.
treatment for bipolar? Because I feel like that's what my dad has.
Yeah, he may have that. Well, there are medications and there's talk therapy. The medication plus talk therapy probably is the way to go with that, but you got to be accurately diagnosed. We throw around this term bipolar way too easily these days. So, and I'm not a shrink. So, but if you know someone, listen, anybody can email me. Just go to drsteve.com, click contact. If you know someone and you want me to send you some information on bipolar disorder, I'll be happy to do that.
Oh,
That's what I'm here
you're
for.
so helpful.
No, I don't want people out there suffering. And if I can help in even a little way, then I'm happy to do it, because this life is too fucking short. And, that's something I can do. So anyway,
All
but
right.
let's, John. So
Mhm.
when I did the Patrick Michael analysis, when I was doing it, I said, well, there's way more people have this in this sort of community or this environment, podcasters, comedians, lots of. So anyway,
All
but
right.
let's, John. So
Mhm.
when I did the Patrick Michael analysis, when I was doing it, I said, well, there's way more people have this in this sort of community or this environment, podcasters, comedians, lots of people I know have this, and it is a thing called compensatory narcissism. And what that is it's a mental illness that's characterized by these narcissistic traits. But rather than having these illusions of grandeur, what really happens is these people have been abused when they're kids, either physically or psychologically, and then later on they have to compensate for that by making themselves bigger than they are. So let me read you some of the traits, see if they sound familiar. Disdain for others, unjustified feelings of superiority. That's see themselves as superior. I like that. See themselves as superior to others and demonstrate disdain for others while trying to elevate themselves in order to assert their superiority. And they have practicing behaviors that alienate others, and they desperately seek praise and approval at the same time while they're alienating people. So I think that
Wow.
didn't you get asked out for a drink after you were
I
fussed at
did.
for
I was
yeah,
yelled at, and then he
yeah.
was nice to me, and I'm like, "Oh, this reminds me so much of growing up." Like, I just was like,
Well, when they seek that sort of praise and approval from people that they've alienated, they get upset if they fail to get that praise and approval, and then they'll lash out. And this is compensating for feelings of inferiority. There are some other traits. They have a very limited capacity for empathy, so they have trouble understanding how other people feel, and
"Yes."
they have
Wow.
little concern or interest in the effects of their actions on other people. They just don't care, and they're very focused on their own social position. Now, how am I
Wow.
so comfortable doing it? It takes one to know one. I'm a compensatory narcissist myself, but I
You
got,
are?
yes, I was very highly compensatory narcissistic growing up, where, I did the stupid stuff like, oh, yeah, I've got a Vox guitar at home. And of course, I didn't have anything of the sort. Just to build myself, I would lie and tell stories to make myself seem more awesome when I was in the 6th and 7th grade. But the difference is I grew out of it. Gambling. So
So what would be your armchair recommendation for a stuttering John if it was your job to fix him?
yeah, I would get him into cognitive behavioral therapy and quit the drinking. And so if he needs help with an addictionologist, do that. I mean, look, if he got better tomorrow, if he listened to me and got help, and it would take years for one thing, so there'd still be loads of fun, but he'll still be fun to goof on. It just, he won't be spiraling out of control, because what I'm concerned about, John, and I do care about him, his well-being. I don't
Yeah.
want the cirrhosis to kick in. I don't want him. We had a lady that used to call into my show all the time. She was on Opie and Anthony too. Her name was Lady Di. And I can only talk about this because this all happened publicly. Everybody knew she was going to drink herself to death. And when in the end, after Opie and Anthony were gone, she would call my show and I'd say, "Are you in rehab?" And she would say no, and I'd hang up on her, because we had to do that. It was like,
Whoa.
I will put you on the air when you make a step in the right direction. Well, she didn't, and she didn't, and she didn't, and now the last time she called Jim and Sam, before they realized what was going on, she thought that she was back in the Navy on a naval ship, but she was in a nursing home. So
Oh, no.
there's this thing called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and it causes a sort of dementia. They call it wet brain, but that's a shitty term. I mean,
Is
it
that like
just
a
causes
like a nod to being a waterhead?
I get,
Wet
well,
brain?
I mean, wet brain from drinking. Their
Oh,
brain's all wet, but that's the sort of colloquial term for it. The real term is Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and nobody wants that for John. I mean, we want him around for
no.
a long time to goof on.
Grifting right. Oh, I want John to get sober and start grifting
Yeah,
right-wing hacks instead of
yes,
left-wing hacks. Keep it fresh.
he could absolutely do that. I mean, the world is his oyster, but it won't be if he keeps drinking like he is.
Oof.
And this
Yeah, I hope he gets better
reacting the way
too.
he does, just lean in one time to say, that was kind of funny, because he'll go on his show and say, "Oh, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me." But then he'll sue Carl, or he'll, stomp his feet with you and all those kinds of
Mhm.
things. That's what they would have just forgotten about it. They
Oh,
would have
yeah.
moved on if it weren't for him just going ham on, WATP when he did, after they
Yeah.
did him the first time. So,
I think it's called having a sense of humor.